The bunker smelled like copper and cordite. Maya Corwin stood alone in the command center, surrounded by 8 bodies sprawled across the concrete floor. Not dead, unconscious, drugged. Their chests rose and fell in synchronized rhythm, the kind of breathing that came from pharmaceutical precision rather than natural sleep. She held a USB drive between blood-slicked fingers. Her left shoulder throbbed where the bullet had grazed bone. Her right eye was swelling shut, but her hand remained steady as she looked at the small piece of plastic that contained everything. Every wire transfer, every encrypted message, every name of every operator sold to Russian intelligence like livestock at auction. The radio crackled to life. His voice filled the empty space, smooth and paternal, the same voice that had told her bedtime stories when she was 17 and fresh from the foster system. "It's over, Maya. Surrender the evidence." She glanced at the bodies. SEAL Team 9. 12 hours ago they'd been strangers. 6 hours ago they'd been skeptics. 3 hours ago they'd fought beside her like brothers. Now they slept because she'd made a choice. Keep them alive or let them die as witnesses. "You killed her," Maya said into the radio. Her voice came out flat, empty. "You killed Sarah." A pause. When Victor Strand spoke again, something had changed in his tone. The pretense was gone. "She was weak like you." Maya's thumb moved to the detonator. C4 lined every structural support in the bunker, enough to bring the mountain down, enough to bury evidence and bodies and truth so deep that no one would ever find it. "Maybe," she said. Then she pressed the button. The explosion tore through the night like thunder. Fire bloomed from the bunker entrance, rolling upward in an orange mushroom that turned the snow to steam. The shockwave rattled windows 5 miles away in the valley below. But Maya Corwin wasn't in the bunker anymore. She'd never been good at staying where people expected her to be. 72 hours earlier, the C-130 Hercules cut through the night sky over the Sierra Nevada range like a blade through black silk. Inside the cargo bay, the temperature hovered just above freezing. Condensation beaded on the metal walls, catching the red glow of the jump lights and turning everything the color of old blood. Maya sat perfectly still in her canvas seat, watching 12 Navy SEALs prepare for what they thought was a training exercise. They moved with the casual efficiency of men who'd done this 1,000 times before, checking weapons, adjusting body armor, telling jokes that weren't funny but got laughs anyway because laughter was how warriors kept fear at bay. Her file folder sat on her lap, black cover, white label, JSOC Observer Survival Training Evaluation. The paper inside detailed her role: watch, take notes, file reports, stay out of the way, don't touch anything, don't interfere. Every word on every page was a lie. Her real orders were locked in a memory capsule buried so deep in her mind that she could barely acknowledge them to herself. 3 months of psychological conditioning had seen to that. Need-to-know compartmentalization taken to its logical extreme. Know the mission. Forget you know the mission. Remember only when the trigger comes. The trigger was a name. But the name hadn't been spoken yet. She touched the locket at her throat. Silver, tarnished. The kind of cheap jewelry they sold at airport gift shops for people who needed a last-minute present. Inside was a photograph of a woman with steel-gray hair and eyes like winter storms. Colonel Sarah Hale, the only person who'd ever looked at Maya Corwin and seen something worth saving. Dead now, 3 months and 4 days. Official cause: single vehicle accident on a wet road outside Arlington. Unofficial cause: murder dressed up as convenience. Maya knew this because she'd seen the body. She'd counted the injection marks they'd tried to hide. She'd read the toxicology report that never made it into the official file. and she'd found the note Sarah had left in this very locket, written in handwriting that shook with knowledge of approaching death. "If you read this, I'm dead. Traitor inside Obsidian. Trust no one, destroy them all." The last line was underlined 3 times. Mom, it was signed, not Colonel or Sarah or Hale, just Mom. Maya had never called her that when she was alive. The regret sat in her throat like broken glass. The loadmaster's voice cut through her thoughts. 30 minutes to drop. The seals stirred. Final checks. Last-minute adjustments. One of them, a kid who couldn't have been more than 26 with a baby face and nervous hands, dropped a magazine. It clattered against the deck. His swim buddy laughed and said something crude. The kid flushed and retrieved the mag, fumbling it twice more before getting it seated. Maya filed the observation away. Danny Cruz, youngest member of the team, 2 deployments, no combat experience outside of training, overconfident to mask insecurity, would crack under pressure or surprise everyone, 50-50 odds. The team commander made his way down the cargo bay, using the overhead straps for balance as the aircraft pitched through turbulence. Lieutenant Commander Jackson Briggs, 38 years old, 18 years of service, face like weathered granite, eyes that had seen things he'd never talk about, Purple Heart from Fallujah, 2 bronze stars, a reputation for getting his people home alive. He stopped in front of Maya, looked down at her with an expression that wasn't quite hostile but wasn't welcoming either. "King," he said, her cover name, "let's be clear about expectations." Maya met his gaze, said nothing. "This is a 5-day survival and evasion exercise," Briggs continued. "We're simulating a downed aircraft scenario. My team will establish a patrol base, conduct reconnaissance, evade OPFOR, and execute an extraction under hostile conditions. Your job is to observe and document. You stay with the command element. You take notes. You do not engage. You do not offer tactical advice. You do not touch a weapon. Are we clear?" "Crystal, sir." "I mean it. I've got 12 shooters who have trained together for 8 months. We don't need input from the intelligence section." "Understood." He waited, expecting her to argue or make excuses or show some sign of the insecurity he clearly thought she must feel. When she just returned his stare with perfect calm, something flickered in his eyes. Not respect. Not yet. But perhaps the first seed of doubt about his assumptions. He moved on. Behind her, someone muttered just loud enough to be heard. $20 says she quits before day 2. "No bet," came the response. "They always do." Maya didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge the words. She'd heard variations of the same sentiment her entire adult life. From drill instructors who thought women were a social experiment. From operators who thought combat was a boys' club. From bureaucrats who thought special operations needed diversity for the optics but not the reality. She'd stopped trying to prove them wrong years ago. Now she just did the work and let the results speak for themselves. The problem was that this time, the work involved keeping 12 men alive while they had no idea they needed keeping alive. The work involved hunting a traitor who might be watching through satellite feeds and encrypted channels. The work involved completing a mission she couldn't fully remember until the trigger activated her conditioning. The C-130's engines changed pitch, descent beginning. Maya closed her eyes and ran through her pre-operation ritual. Not prayer. She'd never believed in God. Not visualization. She'd never needed to imagine success to achieve it. Just acknowledgement, acceptance. A quiet conversation with the part of herself that would do what needed doing regardless of cost. People would probably die in the next 72 hours. She would do everything in her power to make sure they weren't Americans. Everything else was just details. The ramp dropped and California's high mountain air rushed in. Cold, thin, tasting of pine and stone and the kind of emptiness that only existed above 8,000 feet. The SEAL team moved out in tactical formation, boots hitting packed earth with practiced silence. Maya followed at the prescribed distance, playing her role. The observer, the note-taker, the person who didn't matter. Her backpack held equipment that matched her cover: encrypted laptop for reports, digital camera for documentation, satellite phone for communication, notebooks and pens for old-school intelligence gathering. It also held equipment that didn't match her cover: a disassembled rifle that could reach out to 800 meters, 40 rounds of match-grade ammunition, a Glock 19 with 3 magazines, night vision, thermal optics, a med kit stocked for battlefield trauma, and a small black box with a red button that would trigger an emergency beacon. But only if she chose to press it. The landing zone was a clearing 2 clicks from their objective. A valley system in the northern Sierra Nevada that looked like God had taken a cleaver to the mountains and left the pieces scattered. Dense forest, steep ravines, perfect terrain for guerrilla warfare or survival training or anything that required men to remember that nature didn't care about their technology. Briggs held up a fist. The team halted. He pointed to Chief Marcus Shelton, a broad-shouldered operator with a face like a prizefighter and eyes that tracked everything. Shelton moved forward to scout the tree line. Textbook, professional, exactly what you'd expect from a man with 16 years of experience and a Navy Cross from Somalia. Maya watched from her position at the rear. She wasn't looking at Shelton. She was looking at the ridge 300 meters to the north, at the shadow that moved against the starlight for just a fraction of a second before disappearing. Human shadow, prone position, observing. Not OPFOR. The training opposition force wouldn't be in position yet. The exercise wasn't supposed to start for another 6 hours. Maya's pulse didn't change. Her breathing stayed steady, but her hand drifted toward the small of her back where the Glock sat hidden under her jacket, then stopped. Not yet. Revealing the weapon meant revealing herself, and she needed to know more before she burned that particular bridge. The team moved into the forest. Briggs led them along a route that followed the high ground, using terrain features for concealment. Good tactics, the kind taught at advanced infantry schools and practiced until they became muscle memory. They walked into the trap with their eyes wide open and never saw it coming. The explosion came from behind them, not ahead where OPFOR would logically place an ambush. Behind, where the rear security element should have been safe. A bloom of fire and pressure that threw dirt and shrapnel in a cone of destruction that would have killed everyone if they'd been standing 5 meters to the left. But they weren't 5 meters to the left because Maya had stopped to tie her boot 30 seconds earlier, forcing the formation to shift right while they waited for the clumsy observer to catch up. The coincidence would occur to Briggs later, much later. Right now he was screaming into his radio, "Contact rear, IED, man down." Danny Cruz was on the ground, not dead. The blast had caught him in the legs, but his body armor had taken most of the shrapnel. He was screaming, high and ragged, the sound of a man who trained for combat but never actually felt his own blood soaking into the dirt. The rifle fire started before the echo of the explosion faded. Automatic weapons, AK pattern from the sound, at least 6 shooters, firing from positions that suggested pre-planned fields of fire and carefully selected kill zones. This wasn't a training exercise gone wrong. This was an ambush set by professionals. Maya dropped flat behind a fallen log and keyed her radio to a frequency that shouldn't have existed. A channel that was supposed to be reserved for emergencies that threatened national security. Any call sign, this is Cipher 7. We have active hostile contact. Live fire, live explosives. Request immediate guidance. Static. She tried again. Cipher 7 to any station. Multiple casualties. Exercise compromised. Request extraction and fire support. More static. Then a voice she recognized. Smooth. Paternal. The voice that had told her everything would be okay when she was 17 and had nowhere else to go. Cipher 7, this is Overwatch. Authenticate. Maya rattled off a code sequence that changed daily and was locked in her subconscious until needed. The trigger. The thing that would unlock her real mission. Authentication confirmed, Victor Strand said. Sit rep. SEAL Team 9 under attack by unknown hostile force. Live ammunition. IED employment. At least 6 shooters. Professional tactics. This is not OPFOR. A pause that lasted 3 heartbeats too long. Understood. Protect the SEALs. Maintain cover. Do not reveal yourself unless absolutely necessary. Extraction will arrive in 48 hours. Keep them alive until then. Why 48 hours? We need immediate support. Unavailable. Other assets are engaged in time-sensitive operations. You're on your own, Cipher 7. Improvise, adapt, overcome. The connection cut. Maya stared at the radio. Every word Strand had just spoken screamed wrong. SEALs under attack and no immediate response. Assets unavailable when a training exercise goes hot. Orders to maintain cover instead of calling in the cavalry. Either Strand was incompetent or he was lying. Maya had worked with Victor Strand for 8 years. He'd never been incompetent. She pulled the rifle from her pack. It came together in her hands like an extension of her body. Barrel, upper receiver, lower receiver, optic, suppressor. 40 seconds from camera equipment to precision weapon system. 200 meters to her front, Briggs was trying to organize a defense. His people were pinned down by accurate fire from elevated positions. Every time they tried to move, bullets kicked up dirt around them. Every time they returned fire, the enemy shifted positions and flanked them. They were being herded, pushed toward a kill zone that Maya could see even if they couldn't. She settled the rifle's buttstock against her shoulder, controlled her breathing, found the first target through her scope. A man in mismatched camouflage, mid-30s, tactical vest, AK-74 with a scope, firing from behind a boulder with the kind of discipline that suggested military training. He moved with his weapon, controlled his breathing, made every shot count. Maya put the crosshairs on his weapon system. Not him, not yet. She squeezed the trigger. The suppressed rifle made a sound like a small cough. 200 meters downrange, the shooter's rifle exploded as the bullet punched through the receiver and detonated the chambered round. The man dropped his weapon and scrambled backward, clutching his hands to his face where fragments had peppered his features. Injured, not dead. Message sent, someone out here could shoot. Maya shifted to the next target. Another shooter. This one with an RPG-7 set up behind a tree. He was lining up a shot that would turn Briggs and his command element into pink mist. She put a round through the rocket-propelled grenade's warhead while it was still in the tube. The explosion that followed was spectacular. Fire and pressure, and a secondary detonation of the backup rockets the shooter had stacked beside him. The blast wave knocked 3 other enemy fighters on their asses and sent a column of smoke climbing into the dawn sky. The incoming fire faltered, stopped. The enemy was regrouping, trying to figure out what had just happened. Briggs used the pause to move his team to better cover. He was shouting orders, getting his wounded consolidated, setting up defensive positions, doing everything right. He just didn't know who'd given him the breathing room to do it. Maya pulled back from her position, moved 30 meters to the east, changed her angle. The first rule of sniper craft: fire and vanish. Never shoot from the same place twice. Her radio crackled, not Strand's frequency, the SEAL team channel. "Where the hell is King?" Briggs demanded. "Last seen at the rear of the formation," someone responded. "Shelton." The chief's voice was steady despite the chaos. "Before the blast." "Well, find her. We don't leave people behind, even if they're just observers." Maya almost smiled. Even, as if intelligence personnel were a different species, a lesser breed, to be protected out of obligation rather than respected as equals. She'd show them different soon enough. But first, she needed to understand what she was dealing with. She low-crawled forward through the underbrush, silent, invisible, every movement calculated to avoid detection. Sarah Hale had taught her this: how to become part of the landscape, how to move without disturbing the natural patterns around her, how to be a ghost in a world that expected soldiers to be loud. The enemy had pulled back to a tree line 250 meters north of the SEAL position. She counted heads through her optic: 8 visible, probably 2 or 3 more in reserve, all wearing civilian outdoor clothing, all carrying military weapons, all moving with the kind of coordination that suggested unit cohesion and prior training together. Not random militants, not criminal opportunists, trained operators. She focused on one of the bodies left behind by her previous shots, the man she'd injured when his rifle exploded. He was sitting against a rock, being treated by a medic. The medic had pulled off the injured man's tactical vest to check for wounds. Maya zoomed her optic to maximum magnification, focused on the vest lying in the dirt. There, sewn into the inside pocket, a patch that the man had probably forgotten was even there, the kind of thing you acquired during training and never bothered to remove. Black background, silver letters, obsidian. Maya's blood turned to ice water. Task Force Obsidian, the organization she worked for, the most classified special operations unit in the American intelligence apparatus. The people who did the things that SEAL teams and Delta Force couldn't do because those organizations technically didn't exist for missions that officially never happened. Sarah Hale had built Obsidian from nothing, recruited its members personally, trained them to impossible standards, turned them into weapons that served in shadows so deep that not even Congress knew they existed. And now Obsidian operators were trying to kill Navy SEALs. The implications crashed through Maya's mind like dominoes falling. If Obsidian was here, someone had sent them. Someone with authority. Someone who wanted SEAL Team 9 dead and wanted it to look like a training accident. Someone who might be the same person who'd killed Sarah Hale 3 months ago. She keyed her radio again. Strand's frequency. Overwatch Cipher 7. Contact report update. Hostile force confirmed as Obsidian operators. Repeat, Obsidian operators engaging SEAL Team 9. Explain. Silence. Overwatch, authenticate and explain. Why are our people trying to kill friendlies? More silence. Then Strand's voice, different now, harder. Those are not our people anymore. They're rogue elements, mercenaries who stole our equipment and training. Your mission stands: protect the SEALs, keep them alive for 48 hours, then extraction will handle cleanup. What cleanup? Above your clearance, Cipher 7, execute your orders. The connection died again. Maya lay in the dirt, surrounded by the smell of pine needles and cordite, and felt the last pieces of her worldview crumble to dust. Strand was lying. She knew it in her bones, knew it in the way his voice had changed when she asked questions. knew it in the impossible coincidence of rogue Obsidian operators showing up at a random SEAL training exercise. This wasn't a training accident. This was an assassination attempt, against SEAL Team 9 specifically, with Obsidian operators as the killers, on orders from someone high enough in the chain of command to deploy assets without oversight. And Maya had just been told to protect the targets, while preventing them from learning the truth. Keep them alive, but keep them ignorant. That was the mission her conditioning had locked away. The mission she couldn't remember until the trigger activated it. Protect SEAL Team 9 during a training exercise that would turn into a real attack. Make sure they survived without ever knowing they'd been targeted for elimination. But Sarah Hale's note had said trust no one. And Maya trusted Sarah more than she'd ever trusted Victor Strand. She made her decision in the space between heartbeats, broke a cardinal rule that every intelligence operative learned in their first week of training. She was going to tell the truth. Not all of it, not yet, but enough to keep these men alive and fighting instead of dying confused. Maya worked her way back toward the SEAL position, moved carefully, announced her presence before she got close enough to be shot by mistake. Friendly coming in from the north, don't shoot the observer. King, Briggs's voice, surprised. Where the hell have you been? Getting a better vantage point. She emerged from the tree line with her hands visible. The rifle was slung across her back now, obvious, impossible to miss. Every SEAL in the defensive perimeter turned to stare at her. Briggs stood up slowly. His rifle tracked her movement with the kind of casual precision that suggested he wasn't quite sure if she was friendly anymore. "That's not observer equipment," he said flatly. "No, sir, it's not." "So what are you really? CIA, DIA, some kind of spook playing dress-up?" "Close enough, and we have bigger problems than my cover story." "I'll decide what our problems are. Right now my biggest problem is that I've got 2 wounded. We're under attack by unknown hostiles, and the woman who was supposed to be taking notes is carrying a custom rifle that costs more than my truck." Maya met his eyes, held his gaze, let him see that she wasn't afraid of his anger or his authority. "Those hostiles out there aren't unknown," she said. "They're trained operators, American trained. They're here specifically to kill you and your team. This wasn't a random attack, it was an ambush, and it's not over." The silence that followed was absolute. Chief Shelton spoke first. "How do you know this?" "Because I recognize their equipment, their tactics, their training signature. I know it because it's the same training I went through." Briggs took a step closer. "Explain, now. And it better be the truth, because if you're lying to me, observer or not, you're going to have a really bad day." Maya unsung her rifle, ejected the magazine, cleared the chamber, handed the weapon to Briggs' grip first. A gesture of trust, or at least a gesture that looked like trust. "My name isn't King. It's Corwin, Maya Corwin. I work for a classified task force that handles operations conventional military can't touch. 3 months ago, my commanding officer was murdered and made to look like an accident. Before she died, she left me a message. Said there was a traitor inside our organization. Said trust no one." She paused, let them absorb it. "I was inserted into your training exercise as insurance. My handler said it was routine security observation. He lied. Someone wants your team dead. Someone with access to elite operators and the authority to deploy them without oversight. I was ordered to keep you alive for 48 hours without telling you why. But I'm telling you anyway because 48 hours is a long time to stay alive when people are actively trying to kill you." Cruz, the youngest SEAL, the one with shrapnel wounds in his legs, looked up from where Doc Ramirez was working on him. "Why would anyone want to kill us? We're nobody. We're just a SEAL team running a training exercise. I don't know, Maya admitted, but I'm going to find out. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep you breathing long enough to get answers. Briggs handed her rifle back. He did it slowly, carefully, like he was still deciding whether to trust her or shoot her. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" he asked. "You don't. But in the last 10 minutes, someone put 2 precision shots into enemy positions that saved your command element from an RPG attack. Someone who wasn't part of your team. Someone who's trying to help instead of trying to kill you. That's going to have to be enough." "It's not enough." "Then here's more. Those operators out there are regrouping. They'll hit you again in the next 30 minutes, probably with a different approach. They know you're dug in, so they'll try to flank or they'll try to force you to move into a secondary kill zone. Either way, you can't win a straight fight. You're outnumbered, outpositioned, and they have the initiative. So what do you suggest?" Maya pulled a map from her vest, spread it on the ground. The SEALs gathered around. "There's a cave system 2 clicks east. Defensible entrance. Multiple exits. Good concealment. We move there, set up a perimeter, and wait for them to come to us on ground we control instead of ground they control." "Caves can become tombs," Shelton pointed out. "If they have enough people and enough patience, they can just wait us out." "They don't have patience or people. They're operating on a timeline. They need you dead before 48 hours pass or someone's going to start asking questions they can't answer. So they'll push hard, make mistakes, and will exploit those mistakes." Briggs studied the map, studied Maya, studied his wounded men and his defensive position that was getting less defensible by the minute. "Chief," he said to Shelton, "your call, you trust her." Shelton looked at Maya for a long moment. She looked back, didn't flinch, didn't try to convince him, just let him see her for what she was. "I trust that she's had 2 opportunities to let us die and didn't take either one," Shelton finally said. "I trust that she knows things we don't. Whether I trust her personally, ask me in 48 hours. "Good enough." Briggs folded the map, looked at his team. "We move in 5 minutes, light and fast. Cruz, you're on a litter. Doc stays with you. Everyone else, standard movement formation. And King or Corwin or whoever you are." "Yes, sir." "You're on point. If this is a trap, you're the first one who gets to find out." Maya nodded. It was fair, more than fair given the circumstances. "One more thing," she added. "Don't call for extraction. Don't signal for help. Don't try to contact higher headquarters. Anyone you reach might be compromised, might be part of this. The only way we survive is if we assume everyone outside this circle wants us dead." "Even you?" Briggs asked. "Especially me," Maya said. "Trust is earned. I haven't earned yours yet. So keep me where you can see me and keep your hand close to your weapon. If I make a move you don't like, put 2 rounds in my chest and don't lose sleep over it." She meant every word. Because she just violated every protocol she'd ever learned, burned her cover, revealed herself, gone off mission, all for 12 men she didn't know and a truth she hadn't fully uncovered. Sarah Hale had taught her to be a weapon. But maybe, just maybe, Sarah had also taught her to be something more. They moved through the forest like ghosts. Maya led them along a route that avoided the obvious paths and the clear lines of sight. She used terrain features to mask their movement, stopped frequently to listen for pursuit, kept them alive through a combination of professional paranoia and instincts honed by years of operating in places where mistakes meant body bags. Behind her, the SEALs moved with disciplined silence. Even Cruz, carried on a litter by 2 of his teammates, bit back his pain and stayed quiet. These were professionals, the kind of men who understood that survival sometimes meant suffering without complaint. 30 minutes into the movement, Shelton appeared beside Maya. He moved so quietly she almost didn't hear him. Almost. "Question," he said softly. "Ask." "That patch you mentioned, the one that identified them as your organization, how did you see it from 300 meters away?" "Good optics." "That good?" "When you do the kind of work I do, you learn to see things other people miss." He considered this. "My daughter wants to join the military, Marines. I've been telling her it's not for women, that it's too hard, that she won't get the respect she deserves." Maya kept walking, kept scanning. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I just watched you do something I've never seen anyone do, man or woman. You took down 2 targets with 2 shots from concealed positions under fire while everyone else was panicking. And you did it like it was easy." "It wasn't easy." "Looked easy." "That's the point." Shelton was quiet for a moment. Then, "Should I still tell my daughter it's not for women?" Maya thought about Sarah Hale, about the foster kid who'd cycled through 19 homes before the colonel showed up and said 4 words that changed everything. "I see potential." Not "you'll be fine" or "it'll work out," or any of the empty platitudes adults fed to children they didn't actually care about. Just potential. The acknowledgement that with the right training and the right opportunity, maybe this broken girl could become something that mattered. "Tell her the truth," Maya said to Shelton. "Tell her it's harder for women. Tell her she'll have to be twice as good to get half the credit. Tell her some men will never respect her no matter what she does. And then tell her that none of that matters if she's willing to outwork everyone around her and prove them wrong every single day until they run out of excuses." "Is that what you did?" "That's what I'm still doing." They walked in silence for another few minutes. Then Shelton spoke again. "The chief I served under in Ramadi told me something I've never forgotten. He said the most dangerous people in the world aren't the ones who look dangerous. They're the ones who look harmless right up until the moment they put you in the ground." Smart man. He was. Right up until he walked point on a patrol and got shot by a woman in a burqa who everyone thought was just a scared civilian. Maya understood what he was really saying. "You're wondering if I'm that woman." "Are you?" She stopped walking, turned to face him, let him see her eyes in the dim forest light. "Chief, I've killed 17 people in the last 8 years. All of them were enemies of the United States. All of them were verified threats. All of them died because someone like me was in the right place at the right time with the right skills. I've never killed anyone who didn't need killing, and I've never let an American die when I had the power to prevent it." "Never." "Once," she admitted, "the old wound opened, the one that never fully healed. Mosul, 2019. My spotter got hit during exfil. I had to choose between staying with him and completing the mission. I chose the mission. He died alone in a drainage ditch while I put a bullet through a terrorist's head from 800 meters away." "Did you make the right choice?" "The terrorist was planning an attack on an Iraqi police graduation. 200 people. Half of them would have died if I'd failed. My spotter knew the stakes. He told me to leave him. His last words were 'take the shot.'" "But you still carry it." "Every day." His name was Thomas Chen. He liked baseball and terrible action movies and thought pineapple belonged on pizza. He had a wife and a kid he'd never met because the deployment started 2 weeks before the birth. I carry him because forgetting would dishonor what he gave." Shelton nodded slowly. "Okay." "Okay what?" "Okay, I believe you. You're not the woman in the burqa. You're the person who sees the woman in the burqa before everyone else gets shot." He moved back to his position in the formation, without another word. Maya resumed walking. Her shoulder ached where she'd been lying prone on rocks for the past hour. Her legs burned from the altitude and the pace, but her mind was clear, focused. Because somewhere out there, Victor Strand was watching, waiting, making decisions that would determine whether 12 seals and one broken ghost made it to sunrise. And Maya still didn't know if he was trying to save them or kill them. The cave system appeared exactly where the map said it would. A narrow entrance hidden behind fallen boulders and overgrown vegetation. The kind of place you'd walk past 100 times without noticing unless you knew what to look for. Briggs sent Shelton to scout it. The chief disappeared into the darkness with a flashlight and his rifle and enough caution for 3 men. 5 minutes later he emerged. Clear extends back about 40 meters. Multiple chambers, 3 exits including this one, defensible. They moved inside, set up a perimeter, treated wounded, established guard rotation. Did all the things professional soldiers do when they find themselves in a situation that's gone sideways and might go further. Maya sat against the cave wall and pulled out her satellite phone, the one that connected directly to Strand. Her thumb hovered over the power button. If she turned it on, he'd know their position, would track them through GPS coordinates that couldn't be spoofed or hidden, would have real-time knowledge of their status and movements. But if she didn't turn it on, she'd be operating completely blind. No intelligence updates, no warning if the situation changed, no lifeline if everything went catastrophically wrong. Trust no one, Sarah's note had said. Maya powered the phone down, removed the battery, buried both items in her pack under dirty socks and energy bar wrappers. She'd trusted Victor Strand for 8 years. He'd taught her, trained her, turned her into something that could operate in darkness and come back to the light. But Sarah Hale had taught her first, and Sarah's lesson had been simple. Your loyalty is to the mission and the truth, not to people, not to organizations. People lie, organizations become corrupt. Only the mission matters, only the truth survives. So Maya would find the truth. And if that truth led back to Victor Strand, she'd do what Sarah had trained her to do. She'd put him in the ground and never lose a night's sleep over it. Outside the cave, night fell across the Sierra Nevada. The temperature dropped 20 degrees. The stars came out in their thousands, cold and distant and completely indifferent to the small dramas of humans killing each other over secrets and lies. And somewhere in that darkness, Obsidian operators prepared for the next attack. But this time, they'd be attacking people who knew they were coming. This time, they'd be attacking someone who'd been one of them. This time, the ghost was hunting back. The first attack came at 300 hours, the time when human circadian rhythms hit their lowest point, when guards got drowsy and reaction times slowed, and even trained operators sometimes let their attention drift for just a second. Maya heard them coming 90 seconds before they reached the cave entrance. Not footsteps. The forest was too dense and they were too professional for that. But sounds, the absence of sounds. The way the night insects stopped chirping in a progressive wave that moved from west to east. The way a branch cracked under weight 200 meters out. The way the wind patterns changed when human bodies blocked their natural flow. She was on guard duty with Doc Ramirez, the team medic, a quiet man in his late 30s who'd spent more time in combat zones than most people spent in college. He had steady hands and the kind of calm that came from watching men die, and knowing that panic helped no one. "We have company," Maya whispered. Doc's hand moved to his rifle. "How many?" "At least 6, probably 8, coming from the west in a tactical stack." "You can tell that from listening." I can tell that from the fact that they're trying to be quiet and failing. Amateurs try to be silent. Professionals know silence is impossible, so they try to sound natural. These people are trying too hard. Doc keyed his radio. Soft double click. The signal to wake the team without voice transmission. Inside the cave, shadows moved. The SEALs came awake instantly. No groaning or stretching or confusion. 1 second asleep, next second weapons ready and minds clear. The kind of immediate readiness that came from years of sleeping in places where the difference between fast and dead was measured in heartbeats. Briggs appeared beside Maya. Positions. She pointed. West approach. Moving in skirmish line. They'll try to suppress the entrance and then rush it. Standard dynamic entry tactics. How do you want to play it? The question surprised her. Not what should we do, but how do you want to play it? He was deferring to her expertise, trusting her tactical judgment. 48 hours ago, he wouldn't have let her touch a weapon. Now he was asking her to plan the defense. Trust earned through action, the only kind that mattered. Let them get close, Maya said. Funnel them to the main entrance. Hit them with concentrated fire when they commit to the breach. They'll expect us to be inside. We'll be outside in flanking positions. That puts us in the open. It puts us where they're not looking, and where we have angles on their backs. Briggs studied her for a moment, then nodded. Shelton, take 3 men and position south of the entrance. I'll take 3 north. Doc and Cruz stay inside with the wounded. Corwin, your free agent. Hunt. Maya felt something shift in her chest, a weight lifting. He'd called her Corwin, not King, not the observer, her real name, her real identity. It was the smallest thing, and it meant everything. She moved into the forest like smoke, found a position 30 meters from the cave entrance with good sight lines and hard cover, settled in behind a fallen tree with her rifle rested on the bark, controlled her breathing, let her heart rate drop to 50 beats per minute, entered the zone where time stretched and the world narrowed to the scope picture, and nothing else existed except the target and the trigger. The attackers appeared exactly where she expected them. 8 operators in tactical gear moving in a loose wedge formation. They had night vision, suppressed weapons, hand signals instead of radio chatter, professional in every way except the one that mattered. They were hunting an enemy that wasn't where they thought it was. The lead operator reached the cave entrance, pulled a flashbang from his vest, prepared to toss it inside. Maya's radio crackled with Briggs's voice. 1 word. Execute. The night exploded into choreographed violence. Maya took the lead operator first. Not a kill shot. She put the round through his weapon hand. The flashbang dropped at his feet. He had just enough time to realize what was about to happen before it detonated. The blast lit up the forest in a strobe of white light and concussive thunder that turned his night vision into a liability and his eardrums into screaming agony. Briggs and Shelton opened up from both flanks, controlled pairs, professional fire discipline, each shot placed with the precision that separated trained operators from people who just carried guns. 3 attackers went down in the first 5 seconds. 2 more scattered for cover. The last 3 tried to return fire, but they were shooting blind. Suppressed muzzle flashes in the darkness. Bullets hitting trees and rocks and empty air. Maya shifted targets, found an operator trying to flank Shelton's position, put a round through his knee. He went down hard, screaming. The sound cut through the night like a knife through silk. She'd made a choice in that fraction of a second. Kill shot or disabling shot. The math was simple. Dead men told no stories. Wounded men needed rescuing. Wounded men slowed down their teammates and forced difficult decisions about whether to stay and fight or retreat and save the injured. The attackers chose retreat. They pulled back in good order, grabbed their wounded, provided covering fire, disappeared into the forest with the kind of tactical competence that spoke to serious training and real combat experience. Maya tracked them through her scope until they were out of range, counted heads, 4 wounded, 1 dead, 3 uninjured. They'd hit the cave with 8 operators and left with 7. The body lay 15 meters from the entrance, face down, not moving, a pool of blood spreading slowly beneath him in the dirt. Briggs approached it carefully, rifle up, finger on trigger, treating it like it might be booby-trapped or playing dead. Smart, professional, the kind of caution that kept people alive when others got careless. He rolled the body over with his boot. The dead man was young, maybe 26, blonde hair, blue eyes, the kind of face that belonged on recruiting posters or high school yearbooks. Clean cut, all American, the face of someone's son or brother or husband. Maya felt nothing looking at him. She'd stopped feeling things about dead enemies years ago, not because she was heartless, but because feeling was a luxury she couldn't afford. Guilt was a weight that made you slow. Regret was a distraction that got you killed. She'd mourn later, if later ever came. "Check him," Briggs said. Shelton moved in, pulled off the tactical vest, went through pockets with practiced efficiency. Dog tags, wallet, phone, everything that might provide intelligence. The dog tags made Shelton freeze. "Sir, you need to see this." Briggs took the tags, read them in the dim light of a red lens flashlight. His face went hard. Corporal Ryan Voss, USMC, killed in action Syria 2018. The silence that followed was heavy with implications. "Either the Corps made a mistake about him being dead," Shelton said slowly, "or someone resurrected him." Maya moved closer, took the tags, studied them in the light. Official issue, correct format, serial numbers that would check out in military databases. Everything legitimate except the man wearing them was supposed to be dead 5 years ago. "There's no mistake," she said. "The Marine Corps doesn't lose track of bodies. This man died in Syria. He was processed, identified, and sent home. Someone in his family buried an empty coffin or burned an empty urn while he was somewhere else getting a new identity and a new mission." "How is that possible?" "It's possible when you have access to the right systems and the right authority. It's possible when you work for organizations that officially don't exist and have budgets that aren't subject to congressional oversight. It's possible when someone very high up the chain of command decides that certain operators are more useful if the world thinks they're dead." Briggs looked at her. "Your organization did this." It wasn't a question. "Obsidian has the capability," Maya admitted. "We've faked deaths before, for undercover operations, deep penetration into enemy organizations, the kind of work where you can't have ties to your old life because those ties become weapons that enemies use against you. So you kill people on paper and turn them into ghosts. We turn volunteers into assets that can operate without constraints. Ryan Voss was Marine Force Recon, top-tier operator. If he agreed to be declared KIA, it was because someone offered him a mission that mattered more than his old life. Or someone forced him." Maya shook her head. "We don't force. Obsidian only recruits people who choose it, who understand the cost and pay it anyway. Whatever Voss was doing here, he believed in it. Believed enough to kill American servicemen. Believed he was killing traitors or enemies or threats. Someone lied to him, told him you were the bad guys, made him think attacking you was righteous work instead of murder." She looked down at the body, at the face that would never age past 26, at the blood soaking into California soil instead of Syrian sand. We're all weapons, she said quietly. The only question is who's pulling the trigger and what they're aiming at. Voss thought he was aimed at legitimate targets. He was wrong, but that doesn't make him a monster, just a tool in the wrong hands. You sound like you're defending him. I'm explaining him there's a difference. He still tried to kill you. I still killed him to stop it. Those are facts. But understanding why he did what he did, that's how we figure out who's really responsible. Briggs studied her for a long moment. You're not like other intelligence people I've met. How's that? They lie without blinking. You lie but you look guilty about it. Maya almost smiled, almost. I'm not lying right now. No, but you're not telling us everything either. If I told you everything I know, you'd trust me less, not more. Some truths are burdens you don't need to carry. Try me. Maya glanced at the other SEALs, at Shelton and Doc and Cruz with his bandaged legs, at men who'd trusted her enough to follow her tactical plan and were now standing in the aftermath of a gunfight they'd won because of it. She made a decision, crossed another line. The person who sent Voss and the others, she said. I think he's the same person who murdered my commanding officer. I think he's been selling Obsidian operators to foreign intelligence services for money. I think he's trying to kill you because you're witnesses to something he can't afford to have exposed. And I think he's my current handler, the man I've reported to for 8 years, the man who's supposed to be coordinating our extraction. The words hung in the night air like gun smoke. Jesus Christ, Briggs breathed. You're telling us your own boss is trying to kill us. I'm telling you I don't know for certain, but the evidence points that direction. And until I have proof one way or the other, we treat everyone outside this group as hostile. Including your own people. Especially my own people. Obsidian operators are the most dangerous hunters on the planet. If they're hunting you, conventional tactics won't save you. Only thing that might is an Obsidian operator on your side who knows how they think and how they move. You. Me. Shelton spoke up. So what's the play? We can't stay here. They know our position now. They'll come back with more people or better tactics or just wait us out until we run out of food and water. We don't stay, Maya agreed. We move before dawn, find a new position, keep them guessing, force them to react instead of acting. But first we need intelligence. She pointed at Voss's body. Strip him completely. I want every piece of equipment cataloged. Phone, radio, GPS, maps, everything. Somewhere in his kit there's going to be information we can use. Communications protocols, rally points, rules of engagement, something. They worked quickly, methodically, treating the corpse with the clinical detachment of professionals who couldn't afford sentiment in the middle of an operation. Maya found what she was looking for in a pocket sewn into Voss's body armor, a small notebook, waterproof, the kind operators used to keep critical information that couldn't be trusted to electronics. She opened it with gloved hands, read by flashlight. Inside were grid coordinates, radio frequencies, call signs, and a mission brief written in tight, controlled handwriting. Target SEAL Team 9. Objective, total elimination, make it look like training accident. Timeline, 48 hours max. Rules of engagement, no survivors, no witnesses. Authorization code, Obsidian Actual. Obsidian Actual was Victor Strand's call sign. Maya felt something cold settle in her stomach. Not surprise. She'd suspected. But suspicion and confirmation were different animals. One lived in the realm of possibility. The other lived in the realm of action required. What does it say? Briggs asked. Maya handed him the notebook. Watched his face as he read. Watched the progression from confusion to anger to the cold rage that came when a professional warrior realized someone had tried to murder him and his team with premeditation and planning. "This authorization code," Briggs said tightly, "that's your boss." "That's my boss." "So what do we do about it?" "We get evidence. Proof that stands up in a military court. Proof that can't be dismissed as forged or misinterpreted. We need Strand on record ordering these attacks. We need communications intercepts. We need testimony from operators who know what's happening." "How do we get that?" "We capture one alive, we make them talk, and we record everything." Torture doesn't produce reliable intelligence. I'm not talking about torture. I'm talking about showing them proof that they've been lied to, that they're not killing traitors, that they're committing murder for someone's profit. Most operators have a conscience. When you show them they've been weaponized against their own country, they break, they talk, they want to make it right. Shelton looked skeptical. "You really think it's that simple?" "No, but it's the only play we have. Because in 43 hours, someone's going to send an extraction team. And if that extraction team is loyal to Strand, they'll finish what these operators started." The implication hung heavy. "We have 43 hours to prove your boss is a traitor," Briggs said. "And if we fail, we all die." "That's the situation." "Then we better not fail." They moved out 30 minutes before dawn, traveling light, carrying only essential equipment and weapons. Cruz was on his feet now, moving slow but moving. Doc had done good work with the shrapnel wounds, packed them, medicated them, given Cruz enough painkillers to take the edge off without dulling his mind. Maya led them northeast, away from the obvious routes, through terrain that was hard and steep and punishing, the kind of ground that would slow pursuit and tire anyone following. She'd studied this mountain range for 3 weeks before insertion, memorized every trail and water source and dead end. Obsidian training had taught her that success in the field started with preparation long before boots hit ground. Know the terrain better than the enemy. Know your exit routes before you need them. Know where to hide and where to fight and where to run. Knowledge was the weapon that never jammed or ran out of ammunition. They reached a ridgeline just as the sun broke over the eastern peaks. The light came golden and clean, painting the mountains in shades of amber and rose. Beautiful. The kind of morning that made you forget for a moment that people were trying to kill you. Briggs called a halt, let his team rest and hydrate and eat cold rations. No fires, no noise, just professional soldiers taking care of themselves so they could keep operating. Maya sat apart from the group, not isolating herself but giving them space. She was with them but not of them, an ally but not a teammate. The distinction mattered. Her satellite phone sat in her pack like a live grenade. She'd powered it down after the first conversation with Strand, removed the battery to prevent remote activation or tracking, but she couldn't ignore it forever. At some point she'd need to make contact, need to understand what Strand was planning, need to get him on record saying something incriminating. The question was timing. Too early and he'd smell the trap. Too late and the extraction team would arrive before she had actionable evidence. She was still weighing options when Shelton sat down beside her. He didn't ask permission, just settled in like they were old friends instead of recent allies. "My daughter called last night," he said, "before we went wheels up, asked me when I'd be home." Maya said nothing, waited. "I told her 5 days. Standard training exercise. Nothing dangerous. I'd be back before she knew it." He paused. "I lied to her. Didn't even know I was lying, but I was." "You didn't lie. You told her what you believed to be true." doesn't change the fact that I might not make it home, that she might get a visit from men in dress uniforms who will tell her that her dad died serving his country, that she'll spend the rest of her life wondering if I suffered, or if I was scared, or if I thought about her at the end. You'll make it home. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise I'll do everything in my power to make it happen. That counts for something. Shelton looked at her, really looked, like he was trying to see past the operator exterior to whatever lived underneath. Why? He asked. You don't know us. You could have walked away, could have stayed hidden and let us die and completed whatever mission you were really sent here for. Why risk your life for 12 strangers? Maya thought about Thomas Chen bleeding out in Mosul, about Sarah Hale teaching her that loyalty wasn't about friendship or affection. It was about a code, a standard, a line you drew and refused to cross no matter what. Because you're Americans, she said simply. Because you signed up to serve and you trusted that the people giving you orders had your best interests at heart. That trust was betrayed. Someone weaponized you, turned you into targets. That's not your fault. That's not your failure. And I'll be damned if I let you pay the price for someone else's treason. That's it, just duty. Duty is enough. It has to be. Because if we start requiring personal connection to do the right thing, then we only save the people we know, only protect the people we like. And that's not service. That's just tribalism with better weapons. Shelton smiled, small, sad. Sarah Hale taught you that. How did you know? Because it sounds like something a good officer would say. The kind who actually believes the oath means something. She did, that's why they killed her. Will killing Strand bring her back? No. Then why do it? Because he'll kill more people if I don't. Because treason doesn't stop with one victim. It metastasizes, spreads, creates more victims until someone cuts it out at the root. Even if that someone is you, even if it costs you everything. Especially then. They sat in silence for a while, watching the sunrise paint the world in colors that would fade as soon as the day grew hot. My daughter wants to be a Marine, Shelton said eventually. Infantry, combat arms, the whole package. I've been trying to talk her out of it for 2 years. Why? Because I've seen what combat does to people. The nightmares, the hypervigilance, the way you can't ever fully relax again because your brain's been rewired to see threats everywhere. I don't want that for her. Don't want her carrying the weight. So what will you tell her now? Shelton thought about it. I'll tell her the truth, that it's hard, that she'll see things she can't unsee and do things she can't undo, that some people will never respect her no matter how good she gets, that she'll have to be perfect when men get to be merely competent. And then I'll tell her that if she still wants it after knowing all that, I'll help her train. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to serve despite it. Good answer. I learned from watching you. Maya felt something crack in her chest, not breaking, opening, like a door she'd kept locked for years suddenly swinging inward. I'm not a role model, she said quietly. I'm a weapon with a conscience. There's a difference. Maybe, but you're a weapon that protects instead of just destroying. That's something. That's more than most people manage. Before Maya could respond, her radio crackled. Briggs's voice. Corwin, we've got movement, southwest, half a click out, multiple contacts. She was moving before he finished speaking, grabbed her rifle, found a position with good sight lines, scanned the forest below. There, 6 figures moving in tactical formation, not rushing, not trying to close distance fast, just moving with the patient determination of hunters who knew their prey was tired and running out of places to hide. Maya zoomed her optic, studied faces, recognized one of them. Her blood turned to ice. "Kara," she whispered. Kara Navarro, her best friend in Obsidian, her training partner, the woman who'd saved her life in Damascus and whom Maya had saved right back in Bogota, the person she'd trusted more than anyone except Sarah Hale. And now Kara was here, hunting her. Maya's radio crackled again. Different frequency, one she hadn't used in 3 months, the private channel she and Kara had established for emergencies. "Maya," Kara's voice, tight, stressed. "I know you can hear me, I know you're watching, we need to talk." Maya keyed her mic. "Talk fast." "Not over radio, face to face, 30 minutes, grid coordinates coming through now." "Why should I trust you?" "Because Strand told me you went rogue, said you killed Sarah, said you're trying to sabotage the POW rescue mission." Maya felt the world tilt. "What POW rescue mission?" "The one we're running cover for. The reason we need SEAL Team 9 contained for 48 hours. The reason we can't let them call for extraction or support. Because every asset in the region is dedicated to pulling 3 American prisoners out of a black site 200 clicks east of here. If SEAL Team 9 starts screaming for help, it compromises the whole operation." The pieces fell into place like a puzzle solving itself. POW rescue, time-sensitive, need for absolute operational security, orders to delay SEAL extraction without telling them why. It made perfect sense. Except for one problem. Sarah didn't investigate POW rescues, Maya said. She investigated financial crimes, wire fraud, money transfers to foreign accounts. She was building a case against someone inside Obsidian who was selling classified information. Silence on the other end. Then Kara's voice, different now, uncertain. "Strand told us Sarah was paranoid. Said she'd developed a conspiracy theory about Russian infiltration. Said she'd falsified evidence to support it. Said you were helping her before you realized she'd lost it." "And you believed him?" "I believed the evidence he showed us. Bank statements with Sarah's signature, communications with known Russian intelligence officers, a whole paper trail. All fake, all manufactured, because that's what Strand does. He's a professional liar with access to the best forgers in the intelligence community. He killed Sarah because she was about to expose him, and now he's using a fake POW mission to justify eliminating witnesses." Another pause, longer this time. "Prove it," Kara said. "I can't, not over the radio, but I can show you evidence if you're willing to look at it without shooting me. The team I'm with won't let you just walk in. Then come alone, unarmed. Show me you're willing to trust me like I'm trusting you." That's a lot of trust for someone Strand says is a traitor. "It is, but you've known me for 5 years. You've bled with me, fought beside me, saved my life and let me save yours. So ask yourself, does the person Strand describes sound like the person you know?" The radio went quiet for 30 seconds that felt like 30 hours. Then grid coordinates sent. 1 hour. I'll come alone. But Maya, if this is a trap, if you've actually gone rogue, I will put you down. We clear. Crystal. The connection cut. Maya lowered her radio, looked up to find Briggs standing 3 meters away. He'd moved silently, listened to the entire conversation. "That woman you were talking to," he said, "friend or enemy?" "I don't know anymore. Used to be friend. Might still be. Or might be enemy who thinks she's friend because someone lied to her about who the real enemy is." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer I have. Kara Navarro is one of the best operators Obsidian ever trained. If she's hunting us as an enemy, we're in serious trouble. If I can convince her we're on the same side, we might have a chance. And if you're wrong, if she's loyal to Strand, then I'll have made a mistake, and we'll all pay for it. That's not good enough. I'm not risking my team on your gut feeling about someone's loyalty. Maya met his eyes. Then you pick. I go alone or we run and hope we can stay ahead of 6 obsidian operators who know this terrain as well as I do. Those are the options. Briggs looked at Shelton. The chief shrugged. Your call, sir. But for what it's worth, she's been straight with us so far. Hasn't steered us wrong yet. There's a first time for everything. True, but if we run, we're just delaying the inevitable. At some point we have to turn and fight. Might as well do it when we have a chance to split their forces. Briggs was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. You've got 1 hour. You don't come back, we assume you're dead or captured and we move on without you. Fair. And Corwin, if you are working with them, if this is some kind of elaborate setup, I want you to know that I'll hunt you to the ends of the earth. I don't care how good you are or how deep you hide. I'll find you and I'll kill you myself. I'd expect nothing less, Commander. She moved out 5 minutes later, traveled light, rifle and sidearm only, no body armor, no tactical gear, speed and stealth over protection. The meeting site was a clearing 2 clicks northeast. Open ground. No cover. The kind of place where treachery would be immediately obvious and immediately fatal. Kara was waiting when Maya arrived. She stood in the center of the clearing, hands visible, no weapon drawn, just standing there in the morning sunlight like she was waiting for a friend instead of confronting a suspected traitor. They looked at each other across 30 meters of empty ground. Kara was taller than Maya, leaner, with dark hair cut short and eyes that could go from warm to Arctic in a heartbeat. She wore the same black tactical gear as the operators Maya had fought the night before, but her hands were empty and her rifle was slung across her back. A gesture of trust. Or a very good trap. Maya walked forward slowly, hands visible, making no sudden moves, every step taking her further from cover and closer to a woman who could kill her in a dozen different ways. They stopped 3 meters apart. You look like hell, Kara said. I've been shot at a lot in the last 12 hours. By your own people, how's that feel? About like you'd expect. How does it feel knowing you've been lied to? I don't know that I have been. All I have is your word against Strand's. And Strand's been my handler for 7 years. He's never steered me wrong. He's been steering you wrong from the start. You just never knew it because he's that good. Kara's jaw tightened. Prove it. You said you had evidence. Maya pulled the notebook from her vest. Voss's notebook. The one with Strand's authorization code and the mission brief ordering total elimination of SEAL Team 9. She tossed it to Kara, watched her catch it, watched her read. The color drained from Kara's face. This could be forged, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. It could be, check the authorization code. Strand changes it daily. What's today's code? Kara pulled out her phone, checked something. Her hands shook slightly. That's today's code, but it could have been compromised. By who? Me. I haven't had contact with active Obsidian operations in 3 months. That code changes every 24 hours based on an algorithm only Strand knows. The only way it shows up in that notebook is if Strand gave it to Voss. Or if Sarah gave it to him before she died. Sarah didn't have access to daily codes after she was put on administrative leave. You know that. You helped inventory her equipment when they suspended her. Kara's eyes went hard. How do you know about that? Because I've been investigating her death. Because I found irregularities. because I found evidence that Strand falsified the reports about her being paranoid. What evidence? Maya pulled her phone, showed Kara the photographs she'd taken of Sarah's body, the injection marks, the toxicology results that had been buried. She was murdered, made to look like an accident, and the only person with motive and opportunity was someone inside Obsidian who knew she was investigating financial crimes. Kara stared at the photos, her professional mask cracking, emotion bleeding through. Sarah was like a mother to both of us, she whispered. I know. If Strand killed her, then everyone who's followed his orders since then has been complicit. Everyone who attacked SEAL Team 9. Everyone who's out here right now hunting innocent Americans because they were told lies about national security. There's still the POW mission. That's real. I've seen the intelligence. Show me. Kara hesitated, then pulled out a tablet, pulled up classified files, showed Maya satellite imagery of a prison compound, intelligence assessments, mission briefings. It all looked legitimate. Except for one thing. These timestamps, Maya said, pointing. This intelligence is 3 weeks old. POW rescues are time-sensitive. You don't plan them 3 weeks in advance. You execute as soon as you have actionable intelligence. Strand said they were waiting for optimal conditions. For 3 weeks, while American prisoners sit in a hostile black site, that doesn't make operational sense. She watched Kara's face, watched the realization dawn. It's fake, Kara said slowly. Or it's real but not time-sensitive. Either way, we weren't rushed because of POWs. We were rushed because Strand needed SEAL Team 9 eliminated before someone started asking questions about why they were isolated and under attack. Now you're getting it. But why? Why target them specifically? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. Question is, are you going to help me or try to stop me? Kara looked at the notebook, at the photos of Sarah's body, at 5 years of friendship and trust and shared trauma. If I help you, she said carefully, I'm committing treason, going against direct orders, burning my career and possibly my freedom. Yes. And if you're wrong, if there's some explanation that makes this all make sense, then we'll find out together, and we'll deal with the consequences. But Kara, you know me. You've known me for 5 years. Have I ever lied to you? No. Have I ever put personal interest ahead of the mission? No. Then trust that I'm not starting now. Trust that everything I've done has been to protect Americans from someone who's using our organization as a personal profit center. Kara was quiet for a long time. Then she unsung her rifle, ejected the magazine, cleared the chamber, handed the weapon to Maya. I'm in, but if you're wrong, I reserve the right to shoot you myself later. Maya handed the rifle back. Deal. They walked back toward the SEAL position together. 2 operators who'd chosen loyalty to each other and to the truth over loyalty to the chain of command. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like crossing a bridge that was burning behind them. No way back, only forward into whatever came next. Briggs watched them approach with his rifle ready but not aimed, cautious, professional, a man who'd survived this long by trusting carefully. Commander, Maya said, this is Kara Navarro, Obsidian operator. She's defecting. She has intelligence we need. Briggs studied Kara like she was a bomb that might or might not be armed. Why should I trust her? Because I do, and because she just committed career suicide to be here. Not good enough. Kara spoke up. I can give you Strand's communication protocols, radio frequencies, authentication codes, rally points for the other operators, everything you need to know about how they're hunting you. In exchange for what? Help me prove Strand murdered Colonel Hale. Help me get evidence that stands up in court. Help me make sure this doesn't get buried like everything else Obsidian does. Briggs looked at Maya. Your call, she's your people. She's not my people anymore. She's ours. If we're going to survive the next 36 hours, we need every advantage we can get. Kara's that advantage. And if she's playing us, then you get to say, you told me so before Strand's people kill us all. It wasn't reassuring, but it was honest. Briggs lowered his rifle. Welcome to the team, Navarro. Don't make me regret this. I'll do my best, sir. They moved to a defensive position, set up a perimeter, let Kara brief them on everything she knew. The other operators, their capabilities, their probable tactics, the timeline for when Strand would realize she defected and adjust his plans accordingly. It was good intelligence, actionable, the kind that saved lives. But it also confirmed something Maya had suspected. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of time. In 34 hours, the extraction team would arrive. And if that team was loyal to Strand, everything they'd done would be for nothing. Unless they got evidence first. Unless they got Strand on record. Unless they did something so audacious and risky that it either ended the threat completely or got them all killed trying. Maya looked at the faces around her. SEALs who'd gone from treating her like a liability to treating her like a teammate. Kara who'd risked everything to stand beside her. 12 men and 2 women against an enemy that had resources and authority and the full weight of a classified program behind them. Bad odds. Terrible odds. But not impossible odds. Nothing was impossible if you were willing to pay the price. And Maya Corwin had been paying prices her entire life. Time to make one more payment. Time to finish what Sarah Hale had started. All right, she said to the group, here's what we're going to do. And she told them the plan that would either save them all or kill them trying. The kind of plan that Sarah would have approved. The kind that left no room for retreat or surrender. The kind that turned ghosts into hunters. The plan was simple in the way that all truly dangerous plans are simple. Strip away the complexity and you're left with a core that's either brilliant or suicidal. Sometimes both. Maya stood in the center of the group, using a stick to draw in the dirt. Lines became roads. Circles became positions. X marks became where people would probably die if anything went wrong. Strand needs proof we're dead, she said. Proof that can't be questioned. Bodies or wreckage or something concrete enough that no one asks follow-up questions. So we give him proof, Briggs said. Exactly. We stage our deaths. Make it look like we tried to escape and got caught in a rockslide or fell into a ravine. Something violent and final that explains why there are no bodies to recover. Kara shook her head. He won't buy it, Strand's too careful. He'll want confirmation, visual or physical evidence. Then we give him that too. Shelton, how much C4 do we have left? The chief checked his demolitions pack. Enough to make a convincing explosion. Maybe create a small avalanche if we place it right. That's what we'll do. We find a cliff face. Stage equipment at the bottom like we fell during a climb. Set charges to bring down enough rock to bury everything. From satellite imagery, it'll look like a tragic accident during an escape attempt. And where will we actually be? Doc Ramirez asked. Hidden in a cave system half a click away. Watching. Waiting for Strand to send someone to confirm the kill. When they arrive, we capture them. Get them on record admitting what they know. Use that testimony to build our case. Cruz spoke up from where he sat with his bandaged legs. What if they don't send anyone? What if Strand just accepts the satellite evidence and calls it done? He won't. He's too paranoid, too professional. He'll need human eyes on target to be certain, and when those eyes arrive, we'll be ready. It was Briggs who voiced the real question. And what about the extraction team, the one that's supposed to arrive in 32 hours? Maya met his gaze. That's where it gets complicated. If the extraction team is loyal to Strand, they're not coming to rescue anyone. They're coming to tie up loose ends, kill anyone who survived and make sure no evidence points back to him. So we're assuming the extraction is actually a hit squad. We're preparing for that possibility, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Shelton leaned forward. Here's what I don't understand. Why us? Why does Strand specifically want SEAL Team 9 eliminated? We're nobody special, just another team running another training exercise. It was the question that had been nagging at Maya for hours, the piece that didn't fit. Strand was smart enough not to leave loose ends but pragmatic enough not to create problems without reason. Killing a SEAL team would draw attention, investigation, scrutiny. Unless there was something about this specific team that made them a threat. Commander, Maya said to Briggs, before this exercise, were you briefed on anything unusual, any special tasking or observation requirements? Briggs thought about it. Nothing out of the ordinary, standard 5-day survival course. Though now that you mention it, there was one thing. We were told to test new satellite communication equipment, encrypted burst transmission gear, supposed to be unhackable. Maya felt puzzle pieces clicking together. Who provided the equipment? JSOC said it was cutting-edge technology being evaluated for special operations use. And you tested it, sent messages through it. During the first day, before everything went sideways, we transmitted our position updates and status reports like we were supposed to. Maya looked at Kara. They both understood at the same instant. He's using you to test a compromised system, Kara said. The encryption isn't secure. Strand probably built in a backdoor. Now he's selling access to foreign intelligence services. But he can't let anyone who used the equipment survive because you're proof the system was deployed. Jesus Christ, Briggs breathed. He's selling American communication security to our enemies. And making millions doing it. Sarah must have found evidence of the financial transactions, started investigating, got too close, so Strand killed her and tried to bury the investigation. But why not just pull the equipment, say it failed testing? Because he's already sold the access codes, already delivered samples to buyers. Can't put that genie back in the bottle. Only way to protect himself is to eliminate everyone who knows the system exists. The silence that followed was heavy with rage barely contained. These men had trusted their chain of command, had believed that the equipment they were issued was designed to protect them, not make them targets, had done their jobs professionally and competently and were nearly murdered for it. That kind of betrayal left scars that never fully healed. All right, Briggs said, his voice cold as winter stone. Let's burn this bastard down. They spent 6 hours preparing, moving equipment to the staging area, planting explosives in the cliff face above, creating evidence of a desperate escape attempt that ended in tragedy. Maya worked alongside them, placing gear that would photograph well from satellite but wouldn't be missed from their actual inventory. A helmet here, a shredded backpack there, spent ammunition casings scattered like breadcrumbs telling a story of running gunfight that ended at a cliff. The attention to detail mattered. Strand would examine every pixel of satellite imagery, would look for inconsistencies, would search for proof that this was staged. So they made it perfect, or as perfect as desperate people fleeing for their lives would make it, just flawed enough to be believable, just tragic enough to be final. When the sun started its descent toward the western peaks, they were ready. Shelton placed the final demolition charge, ran wire to the detonator, triple-checked his work because men who were careless with explosives tended to become unplanned casualties. "We're set," he reported to Briggs. "On your command, we can bring down about 20 tons of rock. It'll look like an avalanche triggered by the weight of people trying to climb." "Good work. Everyone pull back to the observation position. We detonate at dusk. Let the light create good shadows for the satellite cameras." They retreated to a cave system Kara had identified, deep enough to protect them from the blast, close enough to observe the aftermath, positioned so they could see anyone who came to investigate without being seen themselves. Maya settled in near the entrance with her rifle, watched the sky change colors as the day died, thought about all the choices that had led to this moment, every decision, every action, every time she'd chosen duty over safety or truth over convenience. Sarah Hale had once told her that being an operator meant living in the space between what was legal and what was necessary, that the best operators understood the law but also understood that sometimes the law failed, that sometimes you had to break rules to serve the greater good. "Just make sure your conscience stays intact," Sarah had said, "because the day you stop questioning your actions is the day you become the kind of weapon that needs to be put down." Maya had questioned everything for the last 72 hours, had second-guessed and analyzed, and worried that she was making mistakes that would get people killed. But she hadn't stopped, hadn't given up, hadn't let doubt paralyze her into inaction. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that had to be enough. "You doing okay?" Kara asked, settling in beside her. "Define okay." "Still breathing, still thinking clearly, still capable of making good decisions under pressure." "Then yes, I'm okay." "I'm sorry," Kara said quietly, "for believing Strand, for hunting you, for not questioning his story about Sarah. You believed what you were trained to believe, that the chain of command had our best interests at heart, that our handlers wouldn't lie to us about something this important. That's not a character flaw, that's just being human. Still, I should have known better, should have trusted my gut instead of his evidence." "Your gut told you something was wrong. That's why you agreed to meet with me instead of just shooting me from concealment. That's why you're here now instead of with Strand's people. Give yourself credit for that." They sat in companionable silence, watching the light fade. "What happens after?" Kara asked. "If we survive this, if we get Strand on record and expose everything, what happens to us?" "Courts-martial probably, investigation, debriefs that last for months, our careers destroyed, our reputations questioned, everything we've built turned to ash." Was it worth it? Maya thought about the SEALs sleeping behind them, about Shelton who wanted to go home to his daughter, about Cruz who'd proven himself braver than anyone expected, about Briggs who'd learned to trust someone he'd initially dismissed. "Ask me again when it's over." The explosion came precisely at dusk, a carefully timed detonation that sent rock and debris cascading down the cliff face in a cloud of dust and thunder, the kind of geological violence that would register on seismic sensors and photograph spectacularly from space. From their observation point, Maya watched through her scope, saw equipment buried under tons of stone, saw evidence scattered and destroyed, saw what looked exactly like the aftermath of a desperate escape attempt that ended in disaster. Perfect. She pulled out her satellite phone, the one she'd kept powered down since the first conversation with Strand, turned it on for the first time in 48 hours. It immediately started receiving messages, dozens of them, all from Strand, growing progressively more urgent as the hours passed and she didn't respond. The final message was simple: respond immediately or I'm sending the extraction team early. Maya typed a reply, let her hands shake just slightly, made it look like someone typing under extreme stress. Under attack, team scattered, making for alternate exfil point, need immediate extraction, grid coordinates attached. She sent it, attached the coordinates for the cliff face, the place where satellite imagery would show fresh avalanche debris and signs of recent combat. Then she waited. The response came 3 minutes later. Sit tight, extraction inbound, 12 hours, stay hidden, stay alive. Maya powered the phone down, looked at Kara. He bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. Extraction team coming in 12 hours. That gives us time to rest and prepare. You think it's really extraction or something else? Guess we'll find out. They settled in for the long wait, rotated watch duties, let people sleep in shifts, maintained noise discipline and light discipline, and all the other disciplines that kept people alive when enemies were hunting. Maya took the midnight watch with Briggs. They sat in darkness, listening to the night sounds of the forest, comfortable with silence in the way that only people who'd both operated in hostile territory could be comfortable. Can I ask you something? Briggs said eventually. Go ahead. Do you ever regret it, choosing this life, becoming the kind of person who lives in shadows and does things that can't be acknowledged? Maya thought about foster homes and social workers and the feeling of being unwanted by everyone. Thought about Sarah Hale showing up and offering something better, purpose, belonging, a chance to matter. No, she said, I don't regret it. This life gave me something I never had before, a reason to exist that wasn't just survival, a way to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. That's worth the cost. Even if the cost is never having a normal life, never having a family or a home or someone waiting for you. Even then, because normal was never an option for me. I was broken long before Sarah found me. She didn't fix me. She just pointed my brokenness in a useful direction. Briggs was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, you don't seem broken to me. That's because you're seeing me at my best. In the field, doing what I was trained to do. You didn't see me at 17. Angry and scared and convinced the world owed me something it was never going to give. What changed? Sarah. She told me the world didn't owe me anything, but I didn't owe the world anything either. That I could choose what kind of person to be regardless of what had been done to me. That the past informed me but didn't define me. And that if I wanted to matter, I needed to do things that mattered. Sounds like she was a hell of a woman. She was. That's why Strand killing her can't stand. Why I'll do whatever it takes to make sure he pays for it. Even if it costs you everything. Especially then. Because if I let him get away with it, what was the point? What was all the training and sacrifice and doing the hard things worth if I can't protect the one person who believed in me when no one else did? Briggs nodded slowly. I get it. I lost my whole team in Fallujah because someone up the chain made a bad call, sent us into a neighborhood based on intelligence that turned out to be wrong. 6 good men died because someone was too proud to admit they didn't know what they were talking about. That's why you're so careful about trusting intelligence people. That's why I'm careful about trusting anyone, but you've earned it. You've bled for it. That counts for something. Thanks. Don't thank me yet. We still have to survive the next 12 hours, and something tells me those are going to be the hardest 12 hours of all. He was right about that. The extraction team arrived exactly on schedule. 2 helicopters, black, unmarked, the kind that didn't show up on flight manifests or air traffic control records, ghost birds carrying ghost soldiers to finish ghost work. Maya watched them through her scope from 800 meters away, counted heads as they dismounted, 12 operators, full tactical gear, moving with the precision that spoke to elite training and serious experience. Leading them was a man Maya recognized even from this distance. Victor Strand. He'd come personally, couldn't resist, needed to see for himself that his problem was solved and his secrets were safe. That was his first mistake. His second mistake was not bringing enough people to properly search the area. 12 operators might have been overwhelming force against scattered survivors. Against a prepared defensive position with interlocking fields of fire and people who knew they were coming, it was barely adequate. His third mistake was standing in the open while his people searched the debris field, presenting himself as a target to someone he thought was dead, but who was very much alive and had a rifle zeroed for exactly this range. Maya could have taken the shot, put a bullet through his chest from 800 meters and ended this right now. Simple, clean, final. But that wasn't the plan. The plan required him alive, required him talking, required evidence that would stand up in court and couldn't be dismissed as the accusations of disgruntled operators with axes to grind. So she waited. Watched Strand's people dig through rubble, watched them find planted equipment, watched them take photographs and collect samples and do all the things professionals did when confirming kills. Then she keyed her radio, spoke on a frequency she knew Strand's people would be monitoring. Strand, I know you can hear me, I know you're there, and I know what you did. The effect was immediate. Every operator on the ground froze. Weapons came up. Heads swiveled, searching for the source of the transmission. Strand grabbed a radio from one of his people. His voice came through Maya's earpiece. Controlled, calm, but she could hear the edge underneath. Maya, I'm disappointed. I really thought you were smarter than this. Smart enough to stay alive when you tried to kill me. Smart enough to figure out your game with the compromised communications equipment. Smart enough to get evidence. Evidence can be fabricated. Accusations can be disproven. You're one operator making wild claims against the deputy director of a classified program. Who do you think they'll believe? I think they'll believe the recording I have of you authorizing the elimination of SEAL Team 9. The notebook from Ryan Voss with your authentication codes. The financial records Sarah Hale compiled before you murdered her. And the testimony of Cara Navarro, who's decided she'd rather be a traitor to you than a traitor to her country. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Strand's voice came back, different now, harder. Where are you? Close enough to kill you if I wanted, far enough that you can't do anything about it. What do you want? I want you to admit what you did, on record. I want you to tell your people why they're here. I want them to know they're not serving their country. They're serving your bank account. They won't believe you. Then let's ask them. Your operators out there, the ones searching for bodies. Ask them if they know why they're really here. Ask them if they were told the truth about SEAL Team 9. Ask them if they know you've been selling American communication security to Russian intelligence. She could see the operators on the ground exchanging glances, uncertainty spreading like ripples in water. Stand down, Maya. This doesn't have to end badly for you. Come in. Let's talk, work something out. Like you worked something out with Sarah. Like you're working something out with SEAL Team 9 right now. I know how your negotiations end, Victor, with graves that no one admits exist. I'm trying to give you an out here. I don't want an out, I want justice. And if I can't have justice, I'll settle for revenge. She could see him thinking, calculating, trying to figure out where she was and how many people she had and whether he could win a straight fight. His math was probably telling him the odds were in his favor, 12 against 1, maybe 13 if Kara was with her, but definitely not more than that because everyone else was supposed to be dead. His math was wrong. You've got 30 seconds to surrender, Strand said. After that, we start hunting. And Maya, you know how that ends. We're better at this than you are. We have more people, more resources, more time. You'll run out of ammunition or luck or willpower. And when you do, we'll be there. 30 seconds, Maya agreed. Starting now. She looked at Briggs, positioned 50 meters to her left with half the SEAL team. Looked at Shelton on her right with the other half. Looked at Kara beside her with her rifle trained on targets downrange. They'd had 12 hours to prepare this, to choose positions, to range targets, to establish fields of fire and backup positions and exfiltration routes, to turn the hunters into the hunted. 20 seconds, Strand's voice said. The SEALs waited with the patience of professionals, fingers on triggers, breathing controlled, heart steady. 10 seconds. Maya centered her crosshairs on the operator standing closest to Strand, made final adjustments for windage and distance, let her breathing settle into the rhythm that had been drilled into her through 1,000 hours on the range. 5, 4, 3. She squeezed the trigger on 2. The suppressed rifle coughed. 800 meters downrange, the operator's radio exploded in a shower of sparks and plastic. He staggered backward, unhurt but shocked. Before anyone could react, 11 more shots rang out. Not random, not spray and pray. 11 precise shots from 11 different positions, each one destroying a piece of equipment without touching flesh. Radios, night vision, weapon optics, GPS units, everything that gave them technological advantage. Gone in 3 seconds. Now it was just men in the mountains with rifles. And the men on this side of the mountain knew the terrain and had been preparing while Strand's people were still flying in. New deal, Victor, Maya's voice came over the radio frequency. Your people drop their weapons and walk away. You stay behind. Face justice for what you've done. If they fight, we kill them all. They don't know this terrain, don't have functioning equipment, don't have high ground or prepared positions. Give them the order to stand down before this becomes a massacre they can't win. She could see Strand's face through her scope, see the rage, see the calculation, see him realizing that he'd walked into a trap and the only question was how bad it was going to be. You're bluffing, he said. You don't have the people to back that up. Briggs's voice came over the frequency, professional, calm, the voice of a man who'd been in more firefights than Strand had seen in briefings. SEAL Team 9, all present and very much alive. We've got you surrounded. We've got overlapping fields of fire. We've got nowhere to be and all day to wait. Your people are good, Strand, but they're not prepared for this. Tell them to stand down or we'll put them down. Your choice. Another voice joined the frequency, Kara. This is Navarro. I'm with Corwin and the SEALs. Strand, I've heard the evidence. I've seen the proof. I know what you did to Sarah, and I'm testifying against you regardless of what happens here. Your operators deserve to know they're not fighting for national security. They're fighting to protect a traitor's bank account. Maya watched the operators on the ground, watched them looking at each other, watched the doubt spreading. These were professionals, but they weren't fanatics. They'd signed up to serve their country, not make one man rich. When the first operator lowered his weapon, it was like watching dominoes fall. The second followed, then the third. Within 30 seconds, 8 of the 12 had dropped their rifles and stepped away with their hands visible. 4 held out, hard cases, true believers, men who'd follow Strand into hell if he asked. Strand looked at them, looked at the situation, made his final calculation. "Take them," he ordered. The 4 loyalists opened fire, shooting at positions they couldn't see based on guesses about where the shots had come from, bullets hitting rocks and trees and empty air. The return fire was surgical. Maya took one. Center mass shot that punched through body armor and dropped him instantly. Not dead. The armor had done its job, but definitely out of the fight. Briggs took another. Same result. Professional shot placement that disabled without killing. Shelton got the third, Kara the fourth. 15 seconds of gunfire, and it was over. 4 operators down. 8 surrendered, and Strand standing alone in the middle of it all with nowhere to run and no one left to hide behind. "It's over, Victor," Maya said, not over the radio, out loud, because she was walking toward him now, rifle held ready but not aimed, Kara beside her, Briggs and his team emerging from their positions. A perimeter tightening around a man who'd spent his entire career avoiding accountability. Strand looked at her, really looked, like he was seeing her for the first time instead of just seeing a tool he'd shaped and directed and controlled. "You should have stayed hidden," he said. "Should have taken the out I gave you, could have lived quietly somewhere and let all this fade away. And let you keep selling American lives for profit. Let you keep corrupting everything Sarah built. No, I'd rather die standing than live on my knees." Noble words, but they won't change the outcome. You think you've won, but you haven't. You think you have evidence, but it won't matter. I have friends in places you can't imagine, protections you don't understand. This gets buried and you get prosecuted for treason. Maybe, but maybe your friends decide you're too much liability. Maybe they cut you loose to save themselves. Maybe the evidence is already in the hands of people who can't be bought or intimidated. You want to gamble your freedom on maybes. Strand's hand moved toward his sidearm. Maya's rifle came up faster, centered on his chest. "Don't," she said quietly. "Don't make me do that. Sarah wouldn't have wanted it. Despite everything, she believed in the system. Believed people deserved trials and due process and the chance to defend themselves. I owe it to her memory to give you that chance. But if you draw that weapon, I'll put you down without hesitation or regret." For a long moment, they stood frozen. 2 operators who'd trained together and worked together and trusted each other, now on opposite sides of a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Strand's hand moved away from the weapon, slow, careful. "Smart choice," Briggs said, moving up beside Maya. "Face down on the ground, hands behind your head, you know the drill." Strand complied, moved like a man who knew when he was beaten, let himself be zip-tied and searched and treated like any other prisoner. But his eyes never left Maya's face. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet." FBI arrived 6 hours later. Real FBI, not operators pretending to be law enforcement. Agents with badges and authority, and the kind of bureaucratic power that even classified programs couldn't completely dismiss. They'd been contacted 48 hours earlier by an anonymous source who'd uploaded encrypted files to a secure server. Files containing evidence of treason, corruption, and murder within a classified special operations program. The source had been very specific about timing, had told them exactly when and where to look, had provided authentication codes that checked out and documentation that was impossible to fake. Maya never confirmed it was her, never admitted to anything, just handed over Strand and the evidence and let the system do what systems do when given proof of criminal activity by people who were supposed to be above reproach. The debriefs lasted 3 weeks, different agencies asking the same questions in slightly different ways, trying to find inconsistencies or holes or reasons to doubt the story. But the evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, communications intercepts, testimony from operators who'd realized they'd been used, the bodies of Americans killed on American soil by American operators under orders from someone who'd betrayed his oath. In the end, the truth was too big to bury. Strand was arrested, formally charged with treason, conspiracy to commit murder, espionage, and about 40 other counts that would keep lawyers busy for years. The trial would take time. Due process moved slowly, but it would happen. Justice delayed but not denied. Maya sat in a small office at a Marine Corps base in California, waiting for her own fate to be decided. She'd violated orders, revealed classified information, operated outside her authority. The best she could hope for was a quiet discharge and no prison time. The worst was a court-martial and decades in Leavenworth. The door opened. A Marine colonel entered, not someone Maya recognized, older, weathered, the kind of officer who'd come up through the ranks and earned every ribbon on his chest. "Captain Corwin," he said, "not a question, a statement." "Sir, I've been tasked with conducting your final evaluation, determining what happens next. I've read the reports, talked to the SEALs you saved, reviewed the evidence you compiled. I have some questions." "Yes, sir." "Do you regret any of it? The choices you made, the protocols you violated, the careers you destroyed in pursuit of one man's conviction?" Maya thought about it, really thought, gave him the honest answer instead of the one that might help her. "No, sir, I don't. Everything I did was to protect Americans from someone who'd betrayed his oath and weaponized our own people against us. If I had to do it again, I'd make the same choices. The only thing I regret is not seeing it sooner, not stopping Strand before Sarah Hale died." The colonel nodded slowly. "That's what I thought you'd say, and it's why I'm here to make you an offer instead of serving you with court-martial papers." Maya waited. Obsidian is being rebuilt. New leadership, new oversight, new mission focus. We need operators who understand that the rules exist for a reason, but also understand that sometimes the right thing and the legal thing aren't the same. People with moral compasses that actually work instead of people who just follow orders. "You're offering me a job. I'm offering you a choice. Walk away, take an honorable discharge, live whatever life you want to live, or stay, help rebuild, train the next generation to be better than we were, teach them what Sarah Hale taught you. That power without accountability is tyranny. That being a weapon doesn't mean being a tool. And if I stay, what happens to my record, to the investigation?" "The investigation is over. The evidence stands on its own. Your methods were questionable, but your results saved lives and exposed corruption. That earns you a pass. One time only. Do it again and we'll have a different conversation." Maya stood, looked out the window at Marines running morning PT, young men and women who believed they were serving something larger than themselves, who trusted that the system would protect them while they protected others. She thought about walking away, finding a quiet town somewhere, opening a coffee shop or teaching high school history or doing literally anything that didn't involve violence and secrets and the weight of decisions that got people killed. It would be easier, simpler, safe. But Sarah Hale hadn't raised her to choose easy. "I'll stay," Maya said, "on one condition." "Name it." "I get to choose my own team, recruit people I trust, people who have proven they understand the mission matters more than personal advancement." "Done. Anyone specific in mind?" "Cara Navarro, and if they're willing, some consultants from SEAL Team 9. Chief Shelton specifically. Man has good instincts and a daughter who wants to serve. He'd be valuable in training." "I'll make it happen. Anything else?" Maya thought about it. Just one thing. Sarah Hale's name gets cleared, officially, on record. No more whispers about her being paranoid or unstable. She died protecting this program from corruption. That needs to be acknowledged. Already in the works. She's being posthumously awarded the Intelligence Star. Her name goes on the memorial wall at Langley, and her service record gets unsealed for her family. She didn't have family. She had you, that counts. Maya felt something break loose in her chest. Not grief exactly, more like the release of pressure that had been building for months. The acknowledgement that Sarah's sacrifice meant something, that her death hadn't been in vain. "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me, thank yourself. You finished what she started. That takes a special kind of courage, the kind we need more of." He left her alone in the office, alone with her thoughts and her choices and the weight of everything that had happened. 3 days later, Maya stood at Arlington National Cemetery. Section 60, the part reserved for recent casualties, wars that were still being fought, battles that hadn't ended just because the news stopped covering them. Sarah Hale's grave was simple, white marble, government issue, nothing fancy or ostentatious, just her name, rank, and dates, a life reduced to 4 lines of text. But underneath that stone was a woman who'd been a warrior, and a mother, and a leader, who'd believed that doing the right thing mattered more than personal safety. Maya knelt, placed her hand on the cold marble. "I got him," she said quietly. "Strand's going away forever, the program's being fixed. Everything you died trying to protect is safe. I just thought you should know." The wind moved through the cemetery, carried the smell of cut grass and flowers, and the weight of all the lives that had been given in service to something larger. "I'm staying," Maya continued, "rebuilding what you started, training others the way you trained me, trying to make sure no one else has to die to expose corruption that should never have existed in the first place." She stood, brushed dirt from her knees, saluted the headstone with the kind of precision that Sarah had drilled into her from the first day of training. "Thank you," she said, "for seeing something in me worth saving, for believing I could be more than broken, for teaching me that being a weapon doesn't mean being a tool. I'll carry that lesson for the rest of my life, and I'll pass it on to everyone I train. That's my promise to you. That's how I'll make sure your sacrifice mattered." She walked away, didn't look back, couldn't afford to. The past was important, but it couldn't consume you. Sarah had taught her that too. The future was waiting. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of a classroom at a classified training facility. 24 students sat in front of her, men and women who'd been recruited for their skills and their potential and their unwillingness to accept easy answers. The next generation of Obsidian operators. "My name is Maya Corwin," she said. "For the next 18 months, I'm going to teach you how to operate in darkness without becoming part of it, how to be effective without being evil, how to serve your country without losing your soul." She paused, looked at each face, saw the same mixture of eagerness and uncertainty that she'd felt when Sarah had stood in front of her class 8 years ago. "Some of you will wash out. Most of you, probably. This isn't training for people who want to be heroes. This is training for people who want to be ghosts." shadows that protect other shadows, people who do the work that can't be acknowledged so that others can do the work that gets medals. Kara stood at the back of the room, watching, supporting, ready to help mold these recruits into something better than what had come before. "We're going to start with a simple truth," Maya continued. "Power without accountability is tyranny. Authority without oversight is corruption. Your job, your calling, your entire reason for being here is to be the check on that corruption, to be the operators who refuse to become weapons, who choose to be protectors instead." She pulled out a locket, silver, tarnished, the one Sarah had left her, held it up so everyone could see. "This belonged to the woman who built this program, who believed that America needed operators who could work in darkness but serve the light. She died protecting that vision. Everything we do here, every skill you learn, every decision you make honors her sacrifice. Don't waste it. Don't corrupt it. Don't become the thing she died trying to stop." The students sat straighter, paid closer attention, understood they were being offered something rare, not just training but purpose. "Now," Maya said, setting the locket on the desk, "let's begin. Lesson 1, how to identify corruption before it identifies you. Who wants to tell me what they'd do if their commanding officer gave them an order that felt wrong?" Hands went up. Discussion started. The process of turning potential into capability began. And in that moment, Maya understood what Sarah had known all along. The mission never ended, it just changed form, evolved, adapted. You couldn't eliminate evil, but you could train people to recognize it, to resist it, to stand against it even when standing meant sacrificing everything. That was the work. That was the calling. That was what it meant to be an operator who served the light while working in darkness. Maya Corwin had been a lot of things in her 28 years. Foster kid, broken teenager, trained killer, Sarah's daughter. But standing in that classroom, watching the next generation prepare to carry the burden forward, she was finally something else. A teacher. A guardian. A ghost who'd chosen to haunt the corrupt instead of the innocent. And that was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.